to MandoBug Crafts episode 8. Whew. So, I am MandoBug. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the web as MandoBug. You can also call me Amanda. So, something I've learned. This week, I learned how to not only Navajo, also known as chain ply, but to do it on the fly. So, basically what that is you take the straight roving and you spin a single, probably, a couple feet until the spindle hits the ground, and then you chain ply it into yarn on itself. So chain plying is like making loops and pulling the strands through loops to make it a 3-ply yarn on itself, which is nice on a spindle because you don't really have to deal with all the transferring and the singles, and like you saw when I slipped my plies off on a needle how messed up that got and all that fun stuff. So it's nice to do chain plying on a spindle. It's also nice to ply on the fly on a spindle. So I will show you my end result of that later, but that is what I learned this week. There's some pretty good tutorials on YouTube. That's what I used. If you're interested, I would check it out because it was fun and I'm glad I learned how to do it. I also learned how to do some woodworking. I mean, okay, very simple things, okay? This is what we're talking about. I drilled some holes and made some straight cuts. So, I am super cheap. And, I had such a hard time with my singles, I'm talking about spinning, my spinning singles, being such a mess on those dang needles that I went and made makeshift bobbins. Now, generally bobbins have a hole through the center so that you can use them with a lazy Kate. Well, guess what? I don't have a lazy Kate. So excuse me. Woo. So anything that can hold my yarn works for me. So I just made these cute little guys. Well, I think they're cute. Bobbin! Now, it's got a screw in the middle. That's how I put them together. I bought one of these like dowels and cut it. It made like 7. I didn't make 7 bobbins, but it made 7. I think these were 5-inch. And then I bought these from Hobby Lobby. They were like 80 cents a piece. So this bobbin cost me like not even $3. Win! Maybe eventually I'll learn how to make them so that they have a hole in the middle and I can use a lazy Kate with them, but for now I just need something to hold my singles, and this can like roll around on the floor as I pull the stuff off them. I'm okay with that. So I made 3. Whee! So I was learning how to use the drill and I stripped some of my screws. Oh no, you can see that. According to my husband, I was drilling too slow and not pushing hard enough. So then when I sped things up, and I was like, okay, I got this, and I was drilling faster and pushing harder, then I did this. It like is in the wood. Like it's down in there. Whoops. I'm learning. Oh, but I got to use a miter saw and the drill. I think it's just called the drill. So that was fun. I'm going to spend a lot more time in the garage with my husband learning how to make cool stuff. I plan to make a Swift out of it. I started. We didn't have the right size drill bit for the dowel that I bought for the pegs. So we had to go get that today and I haven't had a chance to work on it yet. So I'll have to show that to you later. But moving on to works in progress. Alright, so my Viking hat, as you can tell, is not on my head. I know I promised to wear it if I finished it, but I didn't finish it yet. And I didn't do that on purpose. But here is the base of the hat. And I must say, this is a pretty cool pattern. Okay, now, this is too big for me, but it's for a male. And I had my husband try it on, so it fits a man. It just doesn't fit me. So I've got the base, and there's a lot of sewing in this pattern, so I'll link to the pattern, of course. It's a paid-for pattern, so it's not free, but it's got lots of pictures. The directions are written really well. but it's got a lot of sewing in it. So like this was all sewn on, this was all sewn on, so that's kind of a pain in the butt, but it looks cool, right? And then here's my horns. They're done, but they're not on yet because I have to make the base that goes around them, make them all cool. But this is going to be an awesome Viking hat, and I'm going to add the beard to it later. So I got the yarn for it, I just haven't made it yet, but progress is going well. Just a little time consuming because of the sewing. So, oh, and that pattern, if you're interested, dude, it comes in like 10 different sizes. I mean, from newborn to extra large adult. So, not even kidding, if you want a Viking hat, that's the pattern to get. So, my favorite things, Infinity Scarf, my dissertation for Nerd Wars. It's coming along nicely. I mean, I'm still having issues with the stranded colorwork tension, and, you know, I don't really think it's so much my issue. Well, it is my issue, but I think it kind of has to do with the color chart too, because especially this pattern I'm about to show you has really long color changes, and I think that's what makes it difficult. So I'm going to try to stick to ones that have like 4 or 5 stitch color changes instead of like 15. So coffee and coffee beans, just like I said, with my creepers. So I think it turned out cute. I got 3 coffees on it in the round. Tension's just being a butt. I've started my next motif. It's going to be like swirls. It should be short, fairly short, just kind of like in between, an in-betweener. I had to keep it lively in color since all this brown kind of, it drew out the color. And this is supposed to be bright and colorful and happy, and but I think it's going well. It's fun. So there's that. And then spinning. Okay, dude, I got bit by the spinning bug this weekend. Not literally, but I did get bit by bugs though. But that's from being outside in the grass. But no, I've done a lot of spinning this week, and I wasn't planning on it. I just picked up my spindle, started going, and well, actually, okay, the real reason is because I found out that I can dance and spin on my spindle at the same time, and I did not realize that. And it was a lot of fun. So I did that a couple days in a row. I just turned on Pandora and was dancing around and spinning on my spindle. Maybe, if you're lucky, I'll put up a video of that sometime. But, so I started spinning my silk on my trindle, and I showed you this is the silk hankies from Fiber Charmer. I was pre-drafting it, and so now I just spun up what I pre-drafted. And let me tell you, spinning 100% silk, I'm having a hard time with it. So I'm hoping it's just because it's new to me, and then I'll figure it out from there. But right now, it's rough. It's not even at all. Not even a little bit. So, hopefully this turns out better than what it's looking like it's going to turn out like. First time, I guess I'm just going to use that as an excuse. And then, on my other spindle, you know, it's a good thing I don't have more than 2 spindles, because I would just have like a million spinning projects going on at once. I started spinning that art bat, and dude, that's hard too. I've been spoiled with these 100% of one kind of wool roving. Well, I mean, I guess the silk's 100% silk. It's just difficult on its own. But this art bat has a bunch of different types of wool in it, and they're not blended smoothly. I mean, they're blended well. They're just like, it's some of like small pieces are thrown in with long pieces. So you have to be holding the bat correctly so that the small piece doesn't just pull through and spin up in a thick chunk. Because the staple lengths on these fiber are different. And so you really have to be paying attention to where you're holding the bat as you draft it, because if not, something with a really long staple length might not draft where you're holding it, or something with a really short staple length might slip through your fingers and then like thicken up what you're spinning. So But for the most part, it's fun and the colors are crazy, right? So here's my progress. It's from this bat. So I mean, like, you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know. So I'm just going, and I didn't realize, because like, okay, looking at this, you're like, okay, so that's like green and blue and white. But as I'm spinning it, it's primarily gray, which is fine with me. I like dark colors, but I think it's kind of manly. And I've been talking with Josh. I think I'm gonna make him a hat with it, so we'll see. But I'll tell you what, this stuff is really soft. So that's fun. So finished objects. I have some. So the moose hat's done. So, see, I told you it doesn't look like a cow. Maybe a little bit. But, I mean, you can definitely tell with the antlers that it is a moose. And I got my little straps here if you want to tie it down. But I'm glad the hat is tight because the antlers are not going anywhere. Well, I mean, they move, but, I mean, for the most part, they're up where they need to be. So I think that turned out good, even though I accidentally made this size. But yeah, this is for Starsha for her birthday. So if you're watching, happy birthday, surprise, unless you watched last week, but you didn't know what it was gonna look like yet, so then never mind. I gotta ship it to her. It's Saturday, you know, I don't upload till Monday, but now because my work schedule, I have to record on Saturdays. Monday's a holiday and the post office is going to be closed. I have to ship it all the way on the other side of the United States. So I was like, you know what, if it's going to be late, I might as well get it in the podcast before I send it. So there's my moose hat. It was a lot of fun. I like how it turned out. Yay! And then, so my spinning. The Navajo ply on the fly and all that greatness. So, the orange Corriedale from Curly Q's fiber. So, here is one skein, all washed and spun up. Sorry about that. I gotta start cleaning out my memory card on this camera when I record. It got full again. So, my yarn. So this is my one skein. This is worsted weight, about 10 wraps per inch. I spun 3 singles and then plied them the opposite direction that they were spun. Just normal plying. I got about 110 yards out of it. I'm really excited. I love the color. Probably gonna make myself a hat with this because it's not a lot of yarn. When I plied it, I had leftovers, of course. If you don't, even though I had measured the fiber out evenly to be an ounce for each single, depending on the consistency that you spin at, you'll get a different yardage at the end. And one of them was, the first one I did was considerably shorter than the other two. So I chain plied those on themselves. So this is just regular Navajo chain plying, this skein. And it is about 30 yards. And this was my leftover singles. So it is also worsted weight, 10 wraps per inch. I can use it with my 110 to give me 140, which should be enough for a hat. And then this little guy was my leftover ounce, and this is what or wait. Yeah. No, I take that back. This was an ounce. This was the ounce I Navajo plied on the fly. So I spun this up and then plied it and spun some more and plied all in one. This one was the leftover singles, which because I only got like 10 yards out of this guy. So this was my leftovers. And I chain plied them on themselves after they had already been spun. This one, roving into spinning, then plied on itself immediately. It was kind of hard, I'm not gonna lie. Because you're spinning, you know, you do the single in one direction and then you chain ply in the opposite direction. If you don't do it correctly, it like it starts unspinning itself, and it can be difficult. I did want to note the difference between the regular plied yarn and the chain plied yarn. There is a slight difference in color. This is more speckled. This is more solid in color, like longer color changes, because this is just like random singles of the kettle dyed put together. So there's a lot of places where there's a red and like a yellow and then an orange, and it's all mixed in. This is plied on itself as a single, so there's not a lot of like areas where yellow and orange meet, because the orange stuff was basically plied on itself, and where the yellow was, it was plied on itself. So it's more like solid color changes. I like how this one turned out better. So I think it just depends on how the fiber I bought was dyed, is how I'm going to decide how I'm going to ply it. This was just, it was harder to do because I made a big old mess with my singles. But now that I have my bobbins, hopefully that won't be a thing anymore. So, got lots of orange yarn. My second hand spun, you know, I love the color. It's gonna make an awesome hat. I'm excited. I don't know what pattern I'm gonna do yet. I have to look them up. So, alright, well, enabling. I don't have any this week, unless you want me to talk about the stuff I bought from Home Depot to make my spindles, which it doesn't matter. So no enabling. Current events, really just Nerd Wars is going on right now, at least for what I'm participating in. My moose hat was for the encyclopedia challenge for Z for Zoo. Talked about how I really can't tell the difference between reindeer and moose. Kind of funny. It's hard to tell the difference between the two. So there was that. The Viking hat will be for the Nerdology, because it's for LARPing. And then I still have to do the flexible schedule, which I'm going to use my spinning because I had started it last month, and it took me over 2 hours to finish that stuff. And then I might knit it up into a hat and use that for my second project in the flexible challenge. And then I still have to do Giving Geeks, which I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I want to donate to the combined federal campaign, so we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. But yeah, so Nerd Wars is going good. The first round is halfway over, almost-ish, close enough. So I think I'm doing pretty good, and I'm on schedule for my dissertation, so things are looking up for me. So for upcoming events, the only thing I really know of is SAF, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna go yet. We'll see. I don't know. I don't really want to be spending a lot of money on my craftiness because of the shop hop. I spent so much money. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll link to it in case anyone else is interested. I believe it's an event in Asheville, South Carolina, or North Carolina. Oh, crap. It's in one of the Carolinas. I'll link to it in the show notes if you're interested. But other than that, that's all I got for you. I think this was kind of a short episode, but I'm on the run. I gotta take off with my husband, so see you next week.